Well, the South Australian Parliament has voted no to recognising that there are only two genders and they're determined at birth. A motion to affirm what even the dimmest high school biology student understands was defeated 9 votes to 4. The motion was moved by One Nation MP Sarah Game.
As I said when I introduced the motion, and will repeat now, there's no place for bullying or discrimination, but that needs to extend to children, parents and members of the community who understand that there are two biological sexes, male and female, determined at fertilisation, and wish to protect the use of gendered language.
So I'm going to put the motion. I'm going to put that the motion of the Honourable Ms Game be agreed to. Those for the question say aye. Aye. Against say no. No. I think the noes have it.
It's just incredible. I mean, Sarah Game tells Parliament, I've got parents complaining that their children are getting confused because of gender ideology taught in schools. I've got people complaining about the mangling of language because of the insistence on degendering words. I've got school principals complaining they're scared of losing their jobs if they don't affirm a child who wants to change their gender. Please, as a Parliament, can we just say we're going to follow the science on this one? And Caleb, they said, no, we're not going to do that. Not going to stand for women, not going to stand for children, not going to stand for science. They shouldn't be in Parliament if they won't do that as a bare minimum.
How far has South Australia fallen since I left the state? It has to be said, the place is just falling to absolute pieces. But how bad is it when the South Australian Parliament, or the upper house of the South Australian Parliament anyway, can't agree that there are two biological sexes when even the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, knows what a woman is?
What is a woman, Prime Minister?
An adult female.
How difficult was that to answer?
Not too hard.
Not too hard, says the Prime Minister. We know there are some other leaders around the world who've struggled to tell us what a woman is, but if the PM, if even Anthony Albanese can give us a straightforward, simple answer like that, why can't the good burgers of the upper house in South Australia work it out?
Can you imagine even 5 years ago, if we could have looked ahead, the same parliamentarians would have just been like, what on earth? Why on earth would she even be putting this motion? And good on her for putting it forward, but we all knew it had Buckley's chance of getting up. This is the same Parliament, South Australia, who in April removed all gendered language, even changing His Majesty, etc. and so on, now to Excellency, and literally now making up words even for figures of state importance rather than refer to a him or a her in their own parliamentary rule book. So you had to know this was going to go down like a lead balloon, and it has. But where are the premiers? Where are the other MPs? Where are the people taking a stand? Let's go to America now, where 20 out of 50 American states already have restrictions in place. They know what a woman is, and they say biological men cannot compete in women's sports. Most recently, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed legislation on Tuesday that prohibits biological men from participating in female sport teams in college. Previously, this ban only applied to schools, whether they're in primary school or high school. Now she's extended it to college. And of course, the lefty media whipped themselves into a frenzy immediately over this. Here's this tweet from ESPN. It says, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed legislation on Tuesday that will ban transgender women from playing on female sports teams in college. Well, the governor herself took no time to clap right back and tweet this in response. Let me fix that, ESPN. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed legislation on Tuesday that will ban biological men from playing on female sports teams in college, setting the record straight. What we wouldn't give for just one premier in Australia to make a similar stance. This should not be controversial. It is about fairness. It's also about safety, quite simply. And lastly, there's a legitimate titan of intellect. You probably know his name, Dr. Jordan Peterson. He took CNN's coverage of the same on. He said Alabama Governor Kay Ivey on Tuesday signed a bill banning narcissistic men from parodying women and stealing their hard-earned victories. Is that what you meant, you lying bastards, CNN? Once again, where are these journos? Where are these intellectuals in Australia doing the same when our parliaments are poo-pooing a measure like this, which is so simple? Let's simply acknowledge there's two genders. No, can't do it, can't do it. Gutless.
Well, good on Jordan Peterson for calling out CNN, because the gaslighting on this issue is so strong, although I fully expect CNN have probably reported Jordan Peterson for violence because, you know, words like that are violence, Caleb.
Well, that's it. Well, they'll all have to change their pronouns to they, them, because even saying that you are a man or a woman is, of course, a form of violence because you are conforming to the binary and the binary is bad. But you know, one of the great Australian values is fairness. It's the fair go. It's the idea that everyone is on equal footing. And if you believe in the Australian value of fairness, then you must believe that women on the sports field deserve a fair go to succeed in the sports in which they compete. And we know, despite the science denial of many people, the same people who during COVID said, follow the science, they deny the science when it comes to transgender people, particularly men who've transitioned to women, and their strength when it comes to sport. Multiple studies have shown that even after lengthy periods on hormone therapy, if you've gone through puberty as a male, you retain a significant amount of that strength for the rest of your life, no matter what you do. It's just plain obvious.
I'm just laughing at you because it just amazes me we need scientific studies to prove what we all know from, like, primary school. And on top of that, I mean, let me ask you, have you ever heard of a transgendered man wanting to compete in, you know, the men's sport?
No.
It
Of
just
course,
doesn't happen.
There's probably one or two, but of course not. You don't hear about them, and probably part of the reason, if they do exist, you don't hear about them, is because it's a totally different ball game. I mean, someone who used to be a woman saying, I want to compete in a man's sport, I mean, all the blokes will be saying, yeah, bring it on, we need more of them. It makes it easier for me to win, because they're not going to be at a disadvantage competing with someone who was born a biological female. But it's a completely different story. When you talk about biological men in sport, it just seems to be a no-brainer.